Good evening. Thank you so much for joining. And to everyone that is going to be watching the replay back, thank you so much for engaging. Good evening. Thank you so much again for joining me. We are here to discuss the career blueprint, how to become a certified ethical AI strategist. A little bit about me. I am Brittnee Alston. I am the founder of B.AI Group, which is a strategic management and advisory services firm. And we specialize in ethical AI, risk mitigation around AI for enterprises and corporate individuals and professionals. And we also provide professional credentialing services and certifications for ethical AI and AI governance frameworks. And so I am really excited to be here to speak about this topic because this is core to my mission for forming and starting B.AI Group. The real risk with AI is not being replaced by AI. I hear this kind of hype in this story often, especially on my Substack and in other public spaces where I frequent a lot these days, posting thought leadership content, etc. And also when I'm talking to enterprises, right? A lot of the executive teams that I've worked with, especially at the government level, they all mention that their employees are scared about being replaced by artificial intelligence, right? Everybody thinks that, the robots are going to be taking over our jobs, right? But it's not. That's not true. And I am personally on a mission to dispel that narrative. We are going to talk about the single most important career shift you can make in the age of AI. And that includes not falling for the hype of getting replaced by a robot. You also have to remember that people that know how to work and lead with AI, they are going to be the real game changers, right? And so that is actually the most important shift that you can make, right? Is educating yourself more about the science of artificial intelligence, how it works, how it learns so quickly, how the learning and the training process evolves over time, and how you, the end user, impacts that learning and that training process by working with the tool on a day-to-day basis. And then how you can then, once you understand how it learns, how it works, and how it evolves over time, you then have more control over what it forms and shifts and shapes into across a broad spectrum. And so that is the first core mindset shift, right, that you need to make is just opening yourself up personally to being more educated on artificial intelligence, and switch from being a user in a user mindset, I guess I would say, to being more of a leader around AI, right? So making that fundamental shift from just being a core user of the tool to being a leader with it. And being a leader means that the game changes then, right? Because you understand if you're thinking from a leadership perspective, you're thinking about um, a lot more expansive other than just your individual use of AI and technology, right? Now you're thinking about the impacts and the ramifications that incorporating this new tool or system or technology is going to have on the broader team. And so, yeah, with that, I'll shift. Okay, so second slide. Right now, most organizations are trapped in a dangerous cycle. And so the technologists are asking, can we build a chatbot? Can we automate this process? And then the business leaders are asking, is it fast and does it cut cost? This approach treats artificial intelligence just like another piece of software, and it completely ignores the complex system that's at play. The user experience, the backend data pipelines, the new workflows that it creates, and the profound impact that it has on humanity, and just the team in general on a day-to-day basis. So for those of you that are in risk and project management, you know firsthand that this is a recipe for disaster. It's like building a skyscraper without a blueprint or a safety inspection. It's not a matter of if it will fail, but how, and how spectacularly will it fail, and when it will fail. So the second mindset shift that we need to start making here is not if we should build something or if we should adopt or implement a new technology or a new system or a new tool. Um, it's should we? Should we be adopting this new technology? Should we be adopting this new tool and implementing it to our workforce? Thinking about our unique working styles, our unique cultures, our unique environments, right? The capacity and the capabilities of the teams that are going to be interacting with this new tool and technology. Are they optimized properly for introducing a new system, a new tool, as advanced and as thorough and with the capabilities that AI has? Are we setting ourselves up for success? And so the most valuable professionals, the real indispensable leaders, are the ones who have the courage to stand up in a room full of engineers and executives and ask that most important question, which is, should we build this? This one word shift is really everything. It elevates the conversation from technical feasibility to strategic wisdom. And it forces a conversation about the ethics, about brand risk, and about long-term consequences, which is incredibly important in highly regulated environments, such as research and publications. I'm working with an organization right now who all they do is research. They provide anonymized regulated research for data publications and science journals, that the congressional lawmakers and lobbyists, and other scientists in the academic world, right, pull from to make inferences and strategic decisions about our future and laws and policies. And so they cannot afford to, have the consequences of using black box data, which is one of the downfalls or pitfalls of using AI within a highly regulated organization or industry. They can't afford that brand risk or the danger that it would do or the harm that it would do to its public reputation, by using faulty data with, that it's supposed to be providing the public for publishing. And so, we have to start thinking about AI from an ethical standpoint and a governance standpoint, before we actually start to even build it. And then when you ask, should we implement this tool or system, you're no longer just a manager of a process, you become the architect of a strategy. And so you really become the conscience of the project. And so I think that we should also shift from thinking about artificial intelligence as just a tool. We all know that it's a tool to accomplish, in organizations or in companies or in agencies' long-term goals. However, because of the propensity that it has to learn and evolve over time, and because of, the real likelihood that it can, start to perform certain tasks autonomously, without the human in the loop, we have to stop thinking about it as just another tool. It's much larger than that, and it has broader downstream effects that are really, really harmful for the end users, like I said, that are engaging in using the tool on a regular basis. Oftentimes, when we think about technology and implementing new systems and strategies, the leaders are the ones that are making these pivotal decisions. They're the ones that are guiding these conversations in the room from the beginning, and they may or may not pull in their builders into early stage conversations. And I would argue that that is kind of a backwards approach, right? They should start by getting more buy-in from the broader organization, but especially from key leaders that are identified, prior to, discussing a new system or a new tool, leaders that are close to the end users, right? Because oftentimes the leaders of the organizations are not in tune or in touch at a very close level with with the users that are using the tools and technologies that they're talking about implementing on a day-to-day basis. And so you really have to get the stakeholders in the room from the very beginning that understand the context and the nuance of the daily workflows of your broader organization and how the tool and the system that's in question, right, is going to be impacting in how it can or would it even fit in. So I just throw that out there. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so one of the core skills that I want to dive deep into here is going to be strategic risk framing. So many of you are already experts at risk management, or you have deep leadership background and experience. And so you know how to assess financial risks, operational risks, and compliance risks. But artificial intelligence introduces a new, more complex set of challenges. So I was speaking with a colleague recently who he's doing some doctoral research on AI's role in protecting privacy in 5G enabled smart cities. Do I don't think that you're here live, but hope you don't mind me sharing this. But I was telling him that the risk there isn't just a data breach. It's the erosion of civic trust on a massive scale. Like that's what I mean when I say strategic risks. And then another colleague, and one that I was recently talking with, is building AI for youth mental health. And so the risk here, right, isn't just a bad recommendation, it's a real catastrophic human outcome. And so framing that risk correctly is about 86% of the most important job in order to get it right from the very beginning. And most don't take the time in the very beginning. Most organizations, most leadership teams that I talk to, they don't take the time to pause and step back and really do their due diligence to frame risks strategically before they just dive in on an initiative. And then I'll just throw another statistic out here. AI pilots over the last year and a half, Harvard Business Review recently did a study. AI pilots over the last year and a half in enterprise organizations have been failing at a rate of 93, 94%, something like that, in the implementation in planning stages. Sometimes they don't even get off of the planning stages because it's just stalled from the very beginning because they didn't take the time to step back and really frame the strategic risks and really do their proper due diligence to understand the downstream effects that AI and AI enabled systems and technologies will have on their workforce. And so an AI strategist knows how to frame these complex human-centric risks in a way that the C-suite and a board can understand and act on. Being certified as an AI strategist allows you to mitigate financial risks, fiduciary risk, compliance risk, governance risk, sometimes even into the eight figures from fallout from implementing AI rapidly and just chaotically. So, core skill number two is consequence mapping. So, this is where we get a little practical. A mindset shift is useless without the tool. So, for project managers, this will feel familiar, but for everyone else, this is a critical evolution of your existing skills. So, instead of just mapping out a risk register, we build what we call a consequence map at B.AI. And it is a tangible, auditable artifact where we map out the second and third order effects of an AI system before we build it. We ask questions like, how could the system harm our most valuable or our most valuable and our most vulnerable users? What's the impact on our employees' workflows? What are the sustainability implications of adopting, incorporating, building this new model and or AI tool? I was recently in another conversation, been having a lot of conversations here recently with the leader, and she brought up AI's impact on sustainability, which is a huge second order consequence that most tech teams just ignore. And so the consequence map makes those invisible risks visible. And this is a document that gets you taken seriously. So you walk into a room with this artifact, and you've immediately elevated the conversation from just being focused on the code or the tech to the actual strategic consequences of adopting this new technology. So the third skill is systemic governance. And apologies for the wonky formatting here on my slide. But finally, we have to build a system. And so this is what separates the professionals from amateurs. It's not just about one-off heroic efforts or just building or implementing one tool here or there, or buying it, right? But it's about creating a repeatable, auditable process. And so this system has to connect everything from the backend data sources to the existing model that's already in place that users use every day, and then to the new model itself that's being talked about, the user facing interface, and the human in the loop workflows for when the AI needs to escalate an issue. So if you think about the mortgage industry, for example, an AI that helps with loan applications needs a rock solid governance system to ensure fairness and prevent bias. And so that's not just a technical problem. That really is a process. You're talking about a workflow and you're talking about user experience problems. And so an AI strategist is the person who designs this entire system, which ensures that every piece works in concert to build trust. And this is how you build trust at scale to ensure ethical AI isn't just a talking point. You want to make sure that this is embedded at the beginning of every single deployment. And we're not just talking about coding or building the AI tools, right? A lot of this is working with any vendors that an organization could be thinking about investing into for out of the box systems and tools, right? We've all seen what is it, the Salesforce Agent Force ads. I've been seeing them when I've been streaming things lately. I've also been seeing, I think IBM has their suite of business agents. I've been seeing ads for those. And so when organizations and users are in conversations with these vendors, you need to also be thinking from an AI strategist standpoint or point of view, right? Because it's so important to, even more important, I would argue, thinking about bringing or buying, investing into an external tool for use and adoption into your internal environment to manipulate your data, you want to really understand and make sure that that vendor has guardrails and responsible, auditable procedures to ensure that they know exactly what their tools and agents are doing at all times, that you're able to get verifiable and auditable logs of the agent's activity, what it's touched, what it's manipulated, and who gave the command to do what and when. And you want to also be able to track, its future programming opportunities and intentions. And so a core thing or core metric that I like to stand by as I'm working with organizations and guiding them through investing in out of the box AI tools and systems with external vendors, is that if the agent can't pause, escalate, or defer to a human, then it's a no. It's a huge red flag and it's a no. Same thing for vendors. If the vendor can't provide resources and protections and guarantees that their agents can't pause, escalate, and defer to the human user as stated in the consequence maps and reason trace that we outlined from the very beginning, then we don't invest in it. Simple as that. Risk framing, consequence mapping, and systemic governance. These are the pillars of my CASE framework. At B.AI Group, we have an ethical governance and compliance framework that we use to develop net new AI agents and tools. And also, this is the framework that we use to incorporate and adopt and guide organizations through when we are helping them with their strategic AI implementations and adoption processes. And then we also certify, we provide professional credentialed certifications that are approved by the District of Columbia's Higher Education License Commission for ethical AI and governance. And so I didn't just write a book of ideas when it comes to the CASE framework. As a systems architect, I actually built an operational process that's a step-by-step system, which gives you the tools, the artifacts that I mentioned, and the exact process to implement this level of governance into any organization. And this is the AI governance architect role that another colleague and I were discussing, which is going to be the future, in my opinion, for dealing with AI implementations from within organizations. It's about taking the rigor of a project manager or a program manager and then applying it to the unique challenges of AI. And so the CASE framework is the certification for that new role. And it's a four-part system designed to give leaders a repeatable process for building trustworthy AI. It stands for context, attunement, safeguards, and escalation. Now, this isn't just a technical checklist, it's a leadership framework that puts the human at the center of the system. And this is where the rubber meets the road. With a critical quality gate that I call the digital therapist test, or DTT, the principle is simple. Before any AI ships, we must prove that it has the wisdom to know when it's out of depth. That means it must be able to pause when it's uncertain, escalate complex situations to a human, and defer decisions that require nuanced judgment. If an AI can't pass this test, it doesn't ship, period. That's the non-negotiable backstop that ensures our systems serve us and not the other way around. So here we are to the main part. If you are a leader who believes in this human first approach and you're ready to go from theory to practice, I have some really exciting news. Enrollment is now officially open for the final case cohort of 2025. This isn't a pre-recorded course that you must watch alone. It's a live 10-night intensive where you'll be surrounded by a curated community of your peers, all leaders who are serious about building the future of AI responsibly. You will leave with a globally recognized certification that makes you indispensable, and you'll join an expert community of strategic AI leaders who are changing the industry. It's a powerful network to be a part of, and it's really what makes leadership in uncertain times invaluable. Is to have a mentorship in a networking community of like-minded individuals who can support each other as we're all learning together. So this is your next step. Seats are intentionally limited to keep the experience high touch and collaborative. I invite you to secure your spot now. If you're watching the recorded version of this webinar, I will link all of the information below in either the comments or the description, depending on where you're watching it. As always, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. My email, all contact information will be posted. Okay, let's transition to Q&A. And see if I have any questions.
Hello.
Hi.
Um, so for your training, how many participants would you take on?
Yes, so for the November cohort, I like to keep it at 25 or less, just because it's very hands-on. So every night, we do an hour of live instructing, where I teach from a module, and then we do what I call lab. And so every night it is a 10-night build of to that capstone project that I kind of outlined earlier. And so you're building during the lab portion of the nights. You're building the agents, and you're also forming feasibility studies, a real pitch deck, and framing the strategic risks that we were talking about tonight, all into a nice 5-minute presentation that you will give at the end of the course, and get feedback on it. And then you'll also leave with a full suite of governance artifacts so that you can continue to do this work either on a consultancy basis or take into a full-time role for the
Hmm.
future.
Okay, and what level would somebody need to have to start?
You can be a complete beginner. Um, you don't need to have any technical expertise if that's what you're asking.
Hmm.
Yeah, so you don't need to have any technical expertise. There's no code required in the agents that we're going to build. It's all about prompt engineering and context engineering, which is the, first key pillar of the case framework. It's more so about the context. And once you understand a little bit more about how AI works, you'll understand kind of, where this thinking comes from. But it's more about the context and what you're feeding into the tool and the agent and the technology, from the very beginning, right? And then how you're layering that on, which is referred to as context engineering. And so I teach you how to do that in an ethical and safe way, depending on or according to the use case that you've chosen to solve for.
And last question. So shoot, it just disappeared.
No worries.
It'll come back, but it's gone right now.
Okay. Thank you for those questions. I often wonder because, I get a lot of interest from people with a background in technology, right? The builders and the coders and the engineers. Um, but it's really not, it's really not for them, quite frankly,
Okay.
honestly. It's
That's good
more
to know.
for, huh?
That's good to know.
Yeah. It's more for, in my opinion, someone who operates more with a systems kind of brain or a leadership brain or a risk or governance brain, in my opinion, right? Because you understand the long-term and downstream impacts that one single decision can have on a large body of people. And, and so oftentimes builders and core technologists, right? I'm gonna have to cut this part out because I don't want to alienate anyone, but um, engineers and coders and builders and the core technologists, they only think about the tool, right, that they're building in the moment.
Yep.
And they don't really think about the impacts that it's going to have on the end users, the broader end users. Yes, they are trained to do that, but they don't have to withstand the consequences, in the same way that someone with like your leadership background would, Cheryl, in my opinion, or someone with like a risk management or a policy background would. So I hope that makes sense the way that
It
I'm
does,
saying
absolutely. Yeah, I'm in the middle of taking a data-based management class right now, and it's the same way with data analytics. Somebody who analyzes data to present to leadership, they are just looking at the data and here it is. But leadership has to think about everything that comes afterwards.
Exactly. And so as you are thinking, all I see, I'm trying to stop sharing my screen so I can come back on camera. All I see these days, right, when it comes to AI, and it's so frustrating, is the tech bros, as I like to call them, talking about, build this tool or build, this AI agent. All right, so I am going to stop the recording again for anyone that is watching the replay back. Thank you so much for your time. Please connect with me on all platforms. Links to those will be in the bottom. Thanks.